guys, welcome back to another video. It is halfway through August, so that means it is nearly time for New Zealand spring, which could not come soon enough. In this video I'm going to show you some of the seeds that I have sown for spring and for summer, and some that I'm going to sow, as well as my potatoes and my New Zealand yams that I'm going to be sprouting, and a few other bits and pieces. So I'm going to first show some of the seeds that I've already started. Okay, so here I have some fennel that I've sown for spring planting. Here I have some chilies that I've started, so this is a jalapeno. There are some asters, and then over here are some brassicas. There's some cauliflower and some cabbage. In this part of the tray I have some eggplants that have just germinated. So I started my eggplant and my chili about 2 weeks ago, and it's still really cold inside, so they've been germinating on a heat pad because they do the best germinating when they are at a temperature of about 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. So inside my house that doesn't get there, so the heat pad really helps. Another thing to think about when you are sowing seeds inside this early is that you do need space to store them. The summer seedlings will not be going in the garden until at least late October, if not early November, so they really need to be kept inside until then. If you've got a glass house, excellent, put them in there. I don't have like a physical garden plan yet. There's quite a lot of seeds that I would like to sow, so I'm going to see what I can fit and see what I can fit at my place and at my parents' place. I use their glass house to store a lot of my seedlings, and this year I'm going to use it for some chilies and eggplants and a couple of other things. And I also want to put some pumpkins at their place because my garden's really small and I really love growing pumpkins. Got quite a few types that I would like to grow this year, so I think I'm going to set up a pumpkin patch there. But now I will show you what seeds I have chosen. So this is the selection so far. So there is quite a bit. Okay, so starting over here, I'm going to do a lot of flowers this year. So I have a selection of poppies. I have some California poppies, and then also some summer mixed poppies with lots of other colours. I've got phacelia that I want to plant, marigolds, some snapdragons, some asters, and a few other flowers that I haven't put in this pile. But anyway, point is, lots of flowers, and I'm starting a few seeds early of the flowers as well, so they're a decent size by the time it gets warmer, and those will be stored at my parents' glass house when they get too big. I'm doing a few kinds of eggplant. I have a dock eggplant and a Florence round purple eggplant. I have a few kinds of chili, a Caribbean blend, a Thai hot chili, and then I'm also doing some jalapenos, and I'll be putting a few of the chili plants inside as house plants because that did really well last year. I gave one to my brother and he had jalapenos for ages. For beans this year I'm doing a couple of climbing beans, just a purple climbing bean and a green climbing bean. This is a Kentucky Wonder. And then I've also got a dwarf garden bean, but the one I'm most excited about is here you go, this yard long red noodle bean. So they get really long, and I think they would look really pretty down the archways in my garden. I have two kinds of cucumber, a Space Master and a little muncher cucumber, so good for small spaces, both of those. Now tomatoes, I thought I didn't have that many tomatoes, but apparently I did put a little seed order in for some. I have, so these two standard ones, there's a tomato, which is little tomatoes, and then a mortgage lifter, which are just a good prolific large sized tomato, and I can do quite a bit of preserving with those. A midnight tomato, a chef's choice yellow tomato, two kinds of zucchini. I have a few kinds of melon that I wanted to try. So I've got this Charente melon, which is a good one, and I have grown this one before, and it's great for like shorter seasons. So since I still lose sun really quickly, these do seem to ripen for me. I've got a banana melon, which I've never grown before, and then I'm going to do another watermelon as well. I did a sugar baby last year, and this year I've got a different type, and I just can't find the seed packet at the moment. It's something gold watermelon or some sort, I'm not sure. And then now my squash and my pumpkins. So I've got a honey nut squash, a musc de Provence squash, and a sunshine squash, and then I've also got an Australian butter pumpkin. So that's quite good. And I'm going to do a few here, but then the majority I do want to put out at my parents' place. So that will be really cool. So today I'm just going to be sowing tomatoes, some basil and some melons. I'm going to wait with my pumpkins and cucumbers just for another couple of weeks. So when you're sowing your seeds, you need obviously a seed tray or something to put the soil or the medium that you're using in and the seeds and have them grow in there. So what you want to use, that's up to you. I like to just save the seed trays that I had the year before and use those again. Toilet paper rolls work really well. You can just push the bottoms in, or newspaper cups work really well. I'm this year using all my old seed trays that I've just been storing in the shed, and before I can use those though, they need a very good wash. When you're washing your seed trays, you can just use hot soapy water and just scrub away any of the dirt and debris that's in there, and then once they're washed, just give them a spray of some vinegar. That will just sanitize them. When I'm sowing my spring seeds, which are going to be inside for ages, this is one of the times that I really like using a store-bought mix. And the main reason for that is that when I'm using my homemade mix, there are always little bugs in there. Because they're going to be inside my living room for so long, I'd really like to just start with a clean mix without any little creepy crawlies. A store-bought seed raising mix also happens to have the right amount of drainage and water retention capabilities, so that gives your seeds a really good head start. It also has trichoderma, which is a biofungicide which can just combat diseases and stuff. So once your seed raising trays are washed and sanitized, then you can fill them with the seed raising mix. And initially I just roughly fill mine. I don't really bother too much about getting it right to the top because I'm going to water them down, and when I water them down it all sinks again, and then I'm going to have to refill them anyway. So when I water them, I really want to make sure that the entire seed raising mix is damp, not just the top layer. So I water really thoroughly, and then once I've done that, then I let them drain for ages. So it's not like super sloppy, but I know that the entire thing is really well wet. When you're sowing seeds, it always pays to sow a few extra than what you think you might need, because not all of them will germinate, or if they do, then you have the luxury of choosing the strongest seedlings, or all of them, and just have a couple of extra plants. How many extra depends usually on the size of the seed and how many seeds you've got. For example, tomatoes, I would probably have about 3 seedlings in here until I can then repot them into bigger pots. But to start off, I'll probably add about 6 seeds in this entire tray, and then choose the strongest ones. And then for pumpkins or melons, where the seed is quite big, or you just don't get that many, I just do 1 extra seed per tray. So when the seeds are really little like that, I don't even bother really covering them with much soil. I'll just push them in just ever so slightly. So now the tomatoes are done, and I'm going to do some melon. So once your seeds have been sown and the seeds have germinated and the seedlings pop up, they need light ASAP, because if they don't get light, they're going to become really tall and leggy as they're climbing higher and higher to find the light. The longer they get, the more spindly and flimsy they get. So yeah, you need to get them as much light as possible. And another thing you'll notice is that your seedlings will start growing toward the light, like physically bend over to whichever way the light is coming from. So it pays to turn your seedling trays around every so many days so they can bend the other way, and that way it's going to create a nice strong stem. So these tomatoes and these melons that I've sown, they're going to be going on that heat mat because they definitely need the warmth to germinate. Usually, even though your seeds are inside at this time of year, it's very rare that you're going to have a consistent 20-degree temperature inside and on that soil. So it really does help to have something to give it a boost, whether it's a hot water cupboard or a heating mat. The thing is with hot water cupboards though, is if they germinate and you don't notice, then well, they need to go in the sun as soon as possible. So the moment those seeds break through, place them in the sun, because if they've got no light, they're going to get really leggy. And then it's really important to keep your seeds damp. So again, not super soggy and waterlogged. You can just mist the top of your seeds with a spray bottle, which is good, but because it's not a very hard stream, so you're not going to disturb the seedling, but you need to do it quite enough to actually penetrate the soil and not just wet the first 2 millimeters of the soil. So another way to do it is actually by placing your little seed trays in a bigger tray filled with water, and then they can take the water up from the bottom. It's also going to encourage your little seedlings to get the water from the bottom, and the roots are going to be wanting to be encouraged to grow down as opposed to just getting their drink from their top roots without having to do any work for it. So yeah, going from the bottom is a good idea. So you can just place it in some water, and then the moment that this feels damp, take it out, because you don't want to have it sitting in the water the whole time or you'll cause rot. And again, this won't happen, you won't have to do this all the time, just when you see it drying out. And just to be clear, that's when you see it drying out, not when it's already bone dry. And then as your seedlings grow, they are probably going to need to be transplanted, especially if you are starting your summer seeds now, so they are not going to be going in the garden until late October, early November. So chances are, very likely, that these tiny little seed trays are going to be too small for them, so you're going to need to repot them. When you repot them, you want to choose a seed tray that's about 3 times as big as the one you just had, so you don't have to repot them again. So I've got some seedlings that I grew outside, some Swiss chard and some sprouting broccoli. And so those ones, because they are used to that temperature and they germinated outside, they can just be planted out in the garden straight away with no hardening off. But if you are planting seeds inside and you're keeping them inside for ages, then those seeds are not used to the outside elements. So you need to do a little bit of preparation for the seedlings before they can go out in the big wide world. When your seed germinates, it'll have its first set of leaves that come up. So here's the fennel, the seeds are still holding it in, but there's just 2. So these are not what I consider the true leaves of the seedling. So they're more the seed coat. The next set of leaves that come up, those are the true leaves. So they're the actual leaves that the seedling has produced, as opposed to the ones that were kind of already wrapped up inside the seed. When it gets 2 sets of true leaves, then you can start the process of hardening off, which is getting them ready for the outside temperature. And you can do little things like every so many days, you can pretend to be the wind by gently tickling your seedlings so they can move around a bit and get a stronger stem. You can decrease the watering a little bit, because that's just like an actual summer. It doesn't rain all the time. They're not going to be able to get water all the time, so you can decrease it. And then on calm days with like no wind or anything, you can just put the seedlings outside for a few hours and increase how often they go outside. So one more thing that I'm going to be doing this month is chitting my potatoes and my yams. So those are New Zealand yams, not sweet potato yams. We call those kumara. So the New Zealand yams are what is known as oka. Okay, here's my yam bucket, and I've got lots of different kinds. These are just supermarket yams. I've had really good luck just growing them from supermarket yams. When they start growing, they will send little shoots up from these little nodules here, and these red ones I got a little bit earlier, and I'm just seeing if any of them have sprouted. Yeah, look, you can see here that it's just starting to come up. My seed potatoes, again, these are just supermarket ones. These are agria, and so they have started to get some good chits on there. And then here I've got some Māori potatoes. I've got urenika potatoes, and they have got some decent chits on them. Some of them do anyway. And these ones I'm going to plant in a pot, which means I can get them in a little bit earlier and keep them covered with frost cloth. They're a really beautiful purple potato. So now I'll take you through a little walk through what's going on in the August garden. So this is my front garden, and I'm still so happy with it. Everything is growing so well. It's really nice to have a garden that gets actual sun in winter. I'm stoked. So now that this part of the garden is empty, the chickens have found my top garden because they were obviously on the lookout for some greens, and I've taken away their two favourite spots, the front garden and that one, so now they've moved to the top. But luckily they are not too destructive. Like, they do eat the greens, but they don't scratch up as much as I used to have red shavers, and they used to scratch the crap out of my garden. But these ones have really fluffy feet, and it just kind of slows them down. They make a bit of a mess, but it's not too bad. And I don't mind that they eat too much on the top garden right now. It's just like bok choy, and I've got a few brassica seedlings that I will cover. But yeah, it's as simple as just draping over some netting, so I'm going to do that in the areas that I want to protect, but the rest they can have. And then up on this terrace, I've actually put in all my fruit tree prunings. So every type that I took. So there's some really young wood, there's some fatter wood, just everything that I've been pruning over the winter and late summer for the stone fruit. And I've just chucked them all in there to see if they root. About this first, when I went to a grafting workshop, and the guy just said, once you're done with the rootstock, what if you chop off that, just pop that in the ground and it'll grow roots. And it just sounded so easy, and it literally did that in like 4 months, and with no work at all. So I'm just doing it with these prunings as well, see how they do. Literally did nothing except for chop them off and pop them in the ground. No rooting hormone, nothing. Yeah, so I will keep you posted and see how it goes. There are definitely enough in there to hopefully have at least 1 or 2 succeed. I'm a big fan of no work gardening. And that's it for this month's video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.